Good afternoon, everybody. It's Brett Fleming, owner of Pioneer Hay Sales. We've just decided to start doing a little bit of content. We're thinking that it's kind of interesting to show everybody what we are up to on a daily basis, kind of what we're doing. Today we're spraying. Tomorrow we could be planting corn or planting beans, but really focusing on the hay side of our business. And a lot of you have maybe heard of Pioneer Hay Sales, or you've heard of our team with Trevor Wolf and Tristan Lilly as our salespeople. We're marketing Timothy hay, Timothy orchard hay, alfalfa hay. We also farm cash crop on the side. That's more of my thing versus those two people. And with us and our family, I'm now a sixth generation farmer in southwestern Ontario, which is only like an hour and a half away from Detroit. Inside the Canadian border, clearly. But yeah, we just thought we'd start creating some videos for you guys to watch, see what we're up to, and see if there's anything that you see for tips or anything that you could advise us that maybe would be a good idea. Appreciate you guys watching, and hope to see you guys soon. At Pioneer Hay, we produce a couple hundred acres every year minimum of Timothy. So I know some people really like Timothy, but some people are maybe a little bit more not sure if they like that grass per se. There's a couple things as a producer that kind of come into play of why we would grow a certain mix or why we wouldn't grow a mix. Why we like to grow Timothy more so than anything. Really nice soft hay, has a lot of green leafiness to it, doesn't get really coarse, so it's the first cutting of Timothy is a really nice one to feed your horse, especially if you're mixing with alfalfa on your own. We really like Timothy, but we don't also want to grow 100% Timothy because it is a cool, moist weather grass. And here we are in Ontario, and I think, Canada, sometimes some people think it's, kind of a cooler environment, but we do have a lot of days where, we're 33, 34 degrees Celsius, which is like 95 Fahrenheit. And it gets really hot, and if it's dry with that heat, it is really hard to get a second cutting of Timothy, and it can be pretty minimal. Last year, Southern Ontario, Ohio, Pennsylvania, we had a bit of a drought in July and August, so our second cuts were pretty minimal for the grasses. Orchard grass, it's a bit of a catch-22 as a producer. We really like the Timothy first cut. The orchard first cut is good as well, as long as we cut it at the right time. But with Timothy second cut, we can have half ton to the acre yields, I should say, where an orchard grass will maybe perform a little bit better. So if you're always kind of wondering why you guys wouldn't go all Timothy or why you wouldn't go all orchard, there is a bit of a balancing act where first cut orchard can get a little coarse on you, especially if you get the wrong weather and it rains in the time that you want to take it off. So it's a bit of if we have a bit of a mixture of both, it kind of helps us overall as far as a farm to produce top quality hay. So here we are, we're doing a little bit of herbicide application. This is all Timothy acres here, looking really good. So we're just doing a bit of herbicide. This is a first year crop, as you can see with the rows. You can kind of see the rows going down the field. We do a bit of a herbicide because we get a pile of ragweed and lamb's quarter and other grasses like thistle and whatnot, as well as broadleaves. So we're always kind of doing a herbicide application right now just to make sure that there's not weeds in our hay, and that's kind of our weed-free guarantee that we kind of throw around. So there is a big worry for herbicides going on it, but it has an MRL. We follow the MRL. We don't cut it before we're supposed to have it in the field. It does naturally break down. It doesn't have any effect to the horses whatsoever. And really, we're more worried about the weeds being in the hay as a negative. We don't want to sell that to any of our customers. So that's what we're really focused on. So something that might be a little bit unique for you guys to know about is there's a lot of different ways that we have to farm differently when we're doing a Timothy orchard, a Timothy hay, or an alfalfa hay. Alfalfa is a legume, so it fixes its own nitrogen, produces its own nitrogen supply. So for us to be spraying nitrogen on alfalfa would actually be doing the plant a disservice. And if that plant has too much nitrogen inside of the stem, it can get really coarse, it can get really tough. And that's obviously what no animal wants to eat. So for us, it's really important for us to really focus on the timing of application for our grasses for nitrogen and sulfur. Nitrogen makes everything grow. As everybody kind of knows, you put nitrogen on your lawn, it'll look a little greener, it'll look a little darker. That's good, but when we're doing Timothy and orchard, there's also a negative side if we put too much on. At Pioneer Hay Sales for the last couple of years, we've been actually toying with how much nitrogen we've been putting down, and actually what we've been finding works better is a little less nitrogen, so the plant will remain a little bit shorter, won't grow out of its skin, but it also will have a bit of a higher quality if we keep that nitrogen at a relatively reasonable level, especially with Timothy's. We have to make sure we don't over apply in, and we are applying a little higher rate of sulfur than I have been. This is actually more of a test year for us. We're actually doubling the amount of sulfur, which of course isn't really great with the prices of fertilizers because they're not getting any cheaper, but that's what we need to do this year. We want to create a really high quality product for our customers, and sulfur is one way of us doing it. This is a really wet kind of spring that we've had. It's been semi-cool, but it hasn't really been overly hot. And it could be a bit of a disease haven for some of this hay as well. So we're going to keep an eye on that, see if that's something that we need to keep an eye for. Haven't seen any insects again. Today is April 24th. So a little early for southwestern Ontario for us to have had any insect pressure yet. So really what we're focusing on right now is we want to make sure that the nitrogen and sulfur is at a right rate on the Timothy and the orchards. We want to make sure for wheat as well, we're wheat farmers. We don't do a whole lot of straw, but we do grow some wheat. Really want to make sure the nitrogen's there. For wheat, we really want to make sure the fungicide's on. It takes a lot of time, and then with some of our soil types, we're on a little bit more clay. We do have some sand, but a lot more clay soils. So if you have a lot of rain, it can make it almost near impossible for us to get out and get managing the fields appropriately. So what you see right here, which you can tell from there to there and back up, you can see that big divide. That is an operator error where I didn't put enough nitrogen and sulfur down. So if you're ever wondering why sulfur, why nitrogen, why can't we just not bother with it, you can see it to a T where I had the boom off, the color difference and everything, and that will make a huge difference in the quality of hay.